This is Elton Kane for Finextra at Cybos, and I'm here at the Deutsche Bank stand with Shrinath Bolloju talking about ASEAN integration. Shrinath, with AEC 2015, it's a momentous year for ASEAN integration. How successful has the process been to date?
Elton, I think the AEC has actually come up very nicely in the last couple of years. ASEAN is now a very viable investment class, good counterbalance to the other classes in Asia, India, China, being the other two big ones. And I think there have been a number of milestones in the last couple of years which are now underscored the benefits of this integration and the progress that has been made. We have the ASEAN Trade Link, which was established last year. In fact, where Deutsche is the sole settlement bank for that trade link. The ASEAN CIS, which was launched recently, providing a multi-market framework for mutual funds. Lots of other initiatives which, in my view, will help the integration along as we go forward into the next couple of years.
How should banks operating in the region be setting themselves up to take advantage of this integration?
To put it very briefly, banks need to become more local. We need to have deep presence in the local markets in ASEAN, something which Deutsche has been doing over the last several years. We've sunk really deep roots, understand local regulations, build relationships with policymakers, with industry bodies, and finally become a trusted advisor to clients, to industry associations and policymakers. We need to bring to bear the experience we've had in other markets, other regions. A good example being our experience of the EU integration over the last decade or so, and help the ASEAN market to actually ensure that we avoid some of the pitfalls that we've seen in the other market integration. So I think a lot to be done.
What can other regional integration initiatives learn from how ASEAN has approached it?
Clearly, the ASEAN integration is following a slightly different path. It is an integration which is led from economic necessity as compared to political necessity. So, different level of engagement comes in. We also have economies in the ASEAN region which are at different levels of maturity, and that also sort of brings its own unique flavor to the manner in which this integration is taking place. I think it's one where each country is given space within which it can sort of do what is comfortable at its current stage of development. I would say there is probably learning on both sides, right? The ASEAN integration can learn a lot from what has happened in the EU integration process. And from the EU side, I think a lot to be learned in terms of allowing some amount of diversity to go through as the market sort of comes together to achieve its goals.
And how can banks kind of build on these insights to maximize the benefits for their customers?
As I mentioned, I think banks need to become as local as possible. They need to build that status of being a trusted advisor. And that can only happen as banks like us, I mean, Deutsche is a very good example where we've sunk roots so deep that we have a very good knowledge of the regulatory framework in all of these locations. We have a position of strength, the manner in which we advise policymakers. We kind of work with them to bring to bear our experience in other market integration processes and to see how we can help the ASEAN region grow. I mean, for us, very clearly, the growth of the ASEAN region will result in our own institutional growth and the growth of our clients. So we think it's a win-win for all of the constituent parties involved in this process.